Today we're going to go over gathering practices, particularly gathering herbs. And one of the questions that people wonder is why would I bother to gather herbs? Why wouldn't I just go to the herb store or the drugstore and buy cayenne or golden seal out of a capsule? There's a lot of different reasons why you would want to gather herbs personally rather than getting them from a drugstore or an herb shop or a pharmacy. I have a personal belief that when we gather herbs, when we're connecting with nature, we become better practitioners. We step outside of ourselves in a way, and we're making connections that are the same connections we would want to make with our patients. It's the same part of our nervous system that would connect to a plant or connects to nature that connects to a patient. Nobody's favorite place is the desk in their office, right? Everybody's favorite place typically is in nature. That's a deep primal thing for us. And I believe that as practitioners we are better if we strengthen that part of our nervous system that will connect to nature, that will connect to our patients in a specific way. We're going to go over reasons to gather herbs, ways that you might think about gathering herbs, and then I'm going to give you a specific protocol that was given to me. And then we'll complete that part of this lecture. One of the beliefs I have is that when we're gathering herbs, we need to gather with our bodies. So when we're studying herbs, when we're studying uhaloa or pohekula or any of the local plants that we're gathering, that we're going to be using, we want to do our due diligence. So we want to study the scientific information about that herb. We want to know indications, contraindications, dosage, the plant family, all that stuff is really important. That's what I call our due diligence. When we're studying plants, we want to use our left brain, we want to use our scientific brain to know the species, to know the genus, to know the family, to understand the constituents of the plant. That's all really critical. But once we have that knowledge, within that framework, we have a lot of leeway. And I have a personal belief that using only one half of our brain to practice medicine is like running a race with one leg. It's kind of insane. As practitioners, we are functioning as shamans. Our species has been tribal for 1 to 200,000 years. And every tribe had a shaman. And the purpose of a shaman is to connect the members of the tribe to something that is transcendent, to something that is above. So I believe that a physician is a shaman, that a stethoscope is a rattle, and that relationship between a person and a shaman is primordial, and it's archetypal, and is built into our nervous system. I don't really care when I go to a plumber, when I have a plumber at my house or an electrician, if that person listens to me, right? But I expect my practitioner to listen to me. When we're functioning in the role of a shaman, our job is to, think of any shaman. What does a shaman do? A shaman will lay on hands, touch people, which modern medicine is not doing a whole lot of these days. It's mostly machines and blood tests. But a shaman touches people. A shaman listens to people, to their patients. A shaman will give people plant medicines or give a prescription of some kind. And a shaman essentially functions as a conduit to another place, to a transcendental place. So a physician, what does a physician do? You go into your physician and you'll say, I have a bladder infection. And so the shaman/physician uses a mysterious language. You'll say, you might have cystitis, which means a bladder infection. So that physician will go back onto the outer regions of the internet or their books and the physician speaks this language that we don't understand. And then we'll come back and we'll give a diagnosis. Cystitis. We go, oh, cystitis, right. Because we rely on that shaman physician to go to the other side, to come back and to give us information. I believe that relationship is primal and primeval. The word diagnosis means through knowledge. Diagnosis, through knowledge. So when we when a practitioner, an herbalist, or a physician goes off into the other realm and comes back with information, that creates a sacred space, that creates a sacred bond, which I believe modern medicine has lost because it is focused too much on science and not enough on the humanity of being a practitioner. When we're connecting to a patient, we are using our body as an antenna. And I had a dear friend of mine who's an eye surgeon, and he was doing psychiatric rounds, very interesting, in a hospital. And his supervisor told him that if he didn't know the diagnosis, he should sit with the patient. Now, this is psychiatric rounds, mind you. He should sit with the patient, drop into his body and see what he was feeling, and that would guide him towards the diagnosis. That's a very shamanic perception in a very Western setting. But that points to the fact that there is so much of our nervous system that we can use to connect with patients and to connect to nature that is really powerful. So there's our left brain, which is cognitive, linear, reductionist, and then there's our right brain, which is non-linear, more shamanic, more creative. Okay? So I think of using both halves of our brain to practice medicine, but also to gather plants. We're not just looking at the constituents in the plants. We're allowing our body to engage that plant, to engage nature, to strengthen our nervous system, to allow us to plug in, connect on a more humane way to what we're doing. Again, our left brain is cognitive, and that's our due diligence, our studies, but our right brain is somatic. This is somatic awareness. This is the part of us that feels things, that feels people. I'll say to women in my classes, you know when you meet a guy and he's creepy? Right? Well, he's creepy, right? You're right. He is creepy, and the part of you that knows that guy is creepy is the same part of you that will listen to a patient and sense what that person needs, sense what a child needs. That same part of you that will listen to a plant. It's that deep knowing that happens down here. I was trained in Hawaiian plant medicine to a certain degree, and what I was taught was that you always relate to your patients from here, from that connection. I think both are necessary. I think left brain is necessary and right brain is necessary, but we need to bring them together. I also think of the left brain as being the head and the right brain as being the body, even though that's not physiologically accurate. That's how I kind of frame it. My Hawaiian teachers would always say that this will fool you, but this won't. I don't think that's always true, but I think it's often true. We can talk ourselves into anything, but our intuition and our gut knowledge, when mixed with linear cognitive scientific information, becomes a very powerful tool. Even on the planet today, we're using this sort of scientific reductionist method of looking at things, and we've made a complete mess using that. We have to bring back our ancestors' way of doing things. We have to bring back what we've lost in our linear cognitive scientific method and bring back something that's more in here and not just up here. Because when we ignore this, we ignore the planet and we ignore the deepest parts of ourselves. So I believe that the earth is our shadow. This earth that we stand on that gives us nourishment is actually the part of ourselves that we deny, avoid, and repress. What happens down there? It's dirty down there. It smells bad, right? That's where we go when we die. Things rot and fester down there. So there's a tendency among ourselves to sort of try and avoid that. We don't want to look at that, just like we don't want to look at the parts of ourselves that don't appeal to us. So we avoid that. But traditional peoples always dig down and embrace the earth as rites of passage. They'll go into a kiva, they'll do a sweat lodge, there's ashes when young men are getting rites of passage. There's an awareness that we have to embrace those parts of ourselves that we don't like, the parts that we don't want to look at. It's the same with the reclamation of our medicine. We need to embrace the intuitive, dark, mysterious parts of ourselves, and we need to embrace the planet in order to practice medicine well. We have to have our feet firmly on the ground. Our head can be in the sky, that's great. Our head can be cognitive, linear, but if we just live up here like a talking head, we're not connecting. We're not connecting to people, we're not connecting to the medicine. I was taught certain protocols, and I've learned many different protocols from different teachers all over the world. I'm not particularly concerned with which protocol you use to gather plant medicine as I am concerned with the fact that you're creating sacred space. When we do in Hawaiian medicine, we'll take the plant material and we exhale through our nose. Like that, we're consecrating. Or make consacre means to make sacred. Sacred is also the body. The sacrum is sacred. That's where the word comes from. So there's a sense of connection to our own body, but also we're changing our frame of reference. So it's not just, take out the dog and put the cat out and take out the garbage or whatever, right? We're actually creating something that is, we're bringing our presence to the practice of gathering plants. The most important part about gathering plants is to be fully present. Because if we're not present, we miss things. Another really important piece of creating that sacred space is to bring ourselves into a parasympathetic state, a relaxed state. Okay? If we're adrenalized, we're going to go over this later, a little later on. I want to show you some specific exercises to train the part of your nervous system that can really attune to nature and listen. But the short version of that is, if we are adrenalized, if we're angry, upset, or frustrated, that's not a good thing, because with adrenaline we get tunnel vision, we get what they call tachypsyche, which is time distortion, we get auditory exclusion. When we're adrenalized, we're like this. That's not the state we want to be in when we're gathering plants. We want to be open and relaxed. And same thing with treating a patient. With your patients, right? If you're stressed out and going every 10 minutes from one patient to another, they're not going to feel nourished, you're not going to be perceptive about what's going on with them, and you're not going to fulfill that shamanic function that people crave, So it's just as important when you're gathering plants to be in a reasonably non-adrenalized state, a reasonably calm, parasympathetic, relaxed state. That will open your nervous system to noticing things that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. So as I said, I'm not so concerned with which hand you use while gathering an herb, or whether you go down on one knee or another, as much as I am with creating sacred space, creating a framework around what you're doing. It doesn't have to be pompous, it doesn't have to be arrogant, like, oh, okay, no. I mean, you can do that if you want, and that's fine when you're doing a protocol. But, I watch my Hawaiian teachers and my Tibetan teachers, when they're doing sacred things, they're relaxed, they're very comfortable. They're comfortable in their skin, they're in their bodies, and I used to say that my Hawaiian teachers, when they were gathering, would pray with their bodies. There's a certain kind of relaxation and comfort. They're home. They're connected to the earth. They're rooted. My Hawaiian teachers always said that when we go to gather herbs, and you can gather herbs anywhere. You can gather it from your backyard or from a native forest or wherever it feels appropriate. But that gathering, when you're going to connect with these plants to gather herbs, you're actually meeting the ancestors. And you always go to see an elder with something in your hand, with a gift, with respect. Respect is a very interesting word. Respect means to look again or to see again. There's a very famous Hawaiian chant called Eho Mai, which asks us to be able to receive the nuances or the subtleties of what's going on around us, the hidden meanings. Okay? So that is really only possible if we're in a relaxed state, a reasonably comfortable, relaxed state, a parasympathetic state. My Hawaiian teachers would talk about gathering herbs in terms of going to meet the ancestors of the elders. And actually, we evolved from bacteria. And there are bacteria covering plants. There are bacteria all the way from 2 miles up into the atmosphere, all the way supposedly 2 miles down into the earth. We live in an ocean of bacteria, so in some sense, these plants and these forests are our ancestors. We are mostly made up of bacteria that's not our DNA. We live in an ocean of bacteria. And so, from a traditional gathering perspective, when we treat the forest as being constituted, filled with our ancestors, we have a certain level of respect. We have a certain level of honoring that's really important if you're going to create that sacred space and I believe do an effective job of gathering herbs. We can gather from anywhere. It doesn't matter if we're gathering from our backyard or from a forest. There's the protocols are similar, and there's a certain amount of respect that is generated in that process. So I was taught to gather with my right hand for a man, with my left hand for a woman, from the east side of a plant for a man, from the left side of a plant for a woman. I was taught to gather from early in the morning before the sun comes up, or at least before the sun gets high. Gather while going downhill. These are all protocols, and these are all, and to always leave an offering, to always leave a gift. Because if I'm dealing with my ancestors here, I want to honor them, and I want to respect them. And the word respect means to see again. Respect. So there's a very famous Hawaiian chant called E Homai, which asks us to be able to see nuances, to see subtleties in our environment, to notice things. The practice of looking again, staying centered in our na'au or our belly or our core, and relaxing our body and being present is creating sacred space. It's consacre, it's making the sacred. Part of creating sacred space is to make sure that we are giving something to our patients that is not only helpful, but there's a certain kind of purity in it, so to speak. And we don't want to be giving ourselves, well, there's a rule in medicine, first do no harm. Right? So we don't want to be giving our patients herbs or supplements that might harm them. And that includes environmental pollutions. And sometimes, spirit pollutions or emotional pollutions. So I always encourage my students, and I try to practice, to only gather from places that don't have toxins in them, that don't have oil runoff. If I'm gathering near the road, I want to gather uphill, because the oil from cars will flow downhill. So I try and keep my gathering at least 20 feet uphill of a road, but also in places where if there's been violence or negativity, that I'm paying attention to that, and I want to absorb that. There's a protocol I was taught by Pakapaka'alakea that involves, it's a gathering protocol, and it involves certain steps. I've been doing this so long that I do it in a sense automatically. When my Hawaiian friends do this, they are connecting to their ancestors directly. There's a whole piece of this that has to do with connecting with ancestry. We're not going to have time today to cover that material, but it's interesting. But I want to give you the basic structure of that protocol, and this is just an example. Any protocol you do is fine. I have a dear friend who studied Native American traditions. He leaves tobacco here. That's totally fine. This is just one way of approaching a gathering protocol. The first step is gratitude. My Hawaiian teachers always said that gratitude is the only emotion that will never betray us. So gratitude is a way of presence is obviously involved in gratitude, being present, and also respect, looking again, paying attention to what's happening, and dropping into the body, into that parasympathetic state. If you pray, you can pray, but you're dropping your energy down, you're relaxing your body, and you're making sure that you're connected. Offer a gift. We're giving this, the second step is offering a gift. We are in the presence of our ancestors, and we need to be respectful, so we offer them a gift. The Hawaiians say that the best thing you can leave is your voice, your olelo. My voice isn't particularly good. I'm not very good at chanting, so sometimes I will play a nose flute, or I will sometimes do a chant, or just whatever is appropriate. I will sometimes I'll make a gathering lay and offer that. So there's some gesture there's a recognition that we are taking from the land and we need to give something back. And there's an idea and a recognition of the reciprocity. There's something called a ho'ailona or an omen. And I believe a ho'ailona is a really important thing when we're gathering plants. We want to pay attention to what's happening around us. So this next step is, may I gather? Do I have permission? And what I will do is I will check inside myself. Is my emotional state okay to gather? Am I really angry or agitated? Or am I okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. And I ask the question, would I want somebody else in my emotional state gathering food or medicine for me? If the answer is yes, I'll go with it. If the answer is no, I put it off until later. So I'm checking inside. May I gather? I'm going to check outside. May I gather? Is everything flowing in my life? Did I lock my keys in my car? Did I twist an ankle? Right? Did a bird just poop on my head? Right? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if a bunch of things are going wrong, it means it's not the right time. Ilona is an omen. It's a sign that things are flowing or not flowing, that we're in tune or not in tune. So again, you don't have to play mental games with yourself. You'll know if it's not flowing. Like I said, you'll twist an ankle, or you'll pack the wrong things in your backpack, or whatever. So there's that awareness of connecting and paying attention, respecting, looking again and making sure things are flowing. So check inside, may I gather, and I'll check in. Is everything okay? Is everything okay outside? Good. If not, I'll either make it pono, fix it and make it right, or we don't gather at that time. I've had a number of times where I'll be taking people out to do something and a bunch of things will go wrong, and I'll say, no, we're done. We're going. I had an interesting experience with a friend of mine. We were gathering herbs in a valley in Maui, and I was going down, we went down into this valley and up this riverbed, and I had on a backpack, and I had a gathering lei on, I had a gathering bundle that I used to put herbs in, and I had a fanny pack on with a camera in it and some tabis, and I looked like a Christmas tree, I was all packed up. So we were gathering herbs. Normally I gather going downhill, but this day we were gathering going uphill, gathering the herbs. And I've been up that valley a lot. It's a spectacular valley, very narrow gorge. And I came across this log that was crossing the riverbed, and I was walking over the log like this, and all of a sudden the log broke off. And I fell backwards into the water, about this much water. So I've got this log on top of me, and I've got this camera here, and I'm keeping it out of the water, right? And I'm feeling really foolish. And my friend is standing there looking at me going, what are you doing, you know? And I look over, I see something move to my left, and I look over, and on a rock right next to my face is a centipede. So I was kind of like, you know, right? So we've been gathering together for years, and she looked at me and she said, we're out of here, right? I said, yeah, we're out of here. So I climbed off of the log. I'm giving the herbs back. I'm going, thank you, sorry, thank you, right? And we're headed downstream, because I'm thinking flash flood. We weren't running, but we were moving pretty fast. Too many weird things had happened. That was too much at one thing. We both had the feeling that something was wrong. So we get down to the mouth of the river by the ocean. Everything's fine, no problem. We start hiking up through the bamboo forest. It's about a half-an-hour hike back to the car. Everything's fine. We get to the car, or before we get to the car, it was about maybe a couple 100 yards away, 100 yards away or so, and we couldn't see it. All of a sudden we hear this bang, like that. It's like, look, what was that? Whoa. We get to the car, everything's fine. I don't know. So we got our gear off, got back in the car, we went down to where the road ended and turned around. We came back up from where we came, and we came up to this bridge, and the bridge had totally collapsed. Boards this thick. I have pictures on my Facebook page, on one of my Facebook albums. This thick, it totally collapsed. Okay, so that's a Ilona. Now the Ho'ike, or the meaning, I'm not sure what that is. All I know is that we weren't supposed to be gathering herbs. We were supposed to be gathering herbs that day, but that's the kind of thing that'll let you know things are not flowing. So again, you don't need to play mind games with yourself. You can just be present and watch the flow of things. And if it's not in line, put it aside for another day. That's making something sacred. Realizing that the timing is not right. So, may I gather? Looking for omens, checking inside, checking outside. Who am I? The next step is, who am I? Say your name. Some of my Hawaiian teachers wouldn't give their real name, they would give a pseudonym. I just give my name. Where am I from? Where am I from does not mean I'm from Cincinnati or from Pittsburgh. It means I'm giving my ancestry or my lineage. This is a Polynesian tradition. So I will give my ancestry. And it's also a Polynesian way of recognizing this. It's a canoe tradition where two people would meet, they would give their lineage to each other. And the Hawaiians do it in a chant, particularly from the Kumulipo, the Hawaiian creation chant. But basically it's acknowledging that you're seeing it, this family connections between you and the forest, and you're saying who you are, and that you not only represent yourself, but your lineage. You're representing all the people that have sacrificed for you so that you could be here today, and you want to be pono and aligned with what you're doing. Who am I gathering for is the next step, and the next step is, who am I gathering for? My Hawaiian teachers would only gather for one person at a time. I'll gather sometimes for one person, sometimes for all my patients to gather something for a clinic, but there's a recognition that this is done with intention. I'm gathering for either my patients in general or one person. And why am I gathering for that person? I'm gathering for that person, and here I visualize the way I want that person to be. So I visualize them as being healed. That aligns my unconscious mind to the outcome. Okay? So I'm gathering because I want my brother's ankle to feel better. I'm gathering because I want my friend's rash to go away. I visualize that person disappearing. And then we ask, why am I really here? And what we do is we drop inside and we ask ourselves, do we have any other motivations for being here? Any shadow, anything we don't want to look at. I'm here because I really need the money. I'm here because I want to look cool. I'm here because I had to get out of the house. I'm here, whatever the reason is. And maybe there isn't any shadow. Maybe we're just there because I really do want my brother's ankle to heal. Or maybe I'm there because I feel guilty for my brother. But there's a kind of a digging in, a looking at oneself and finding places that we're not proud of. And that is offered to the forest. And we can do this silently. We don't have to do it out loud. We don't have to embarrass ourselves, right? But that recognition of our shadow, I believe, also connects us to the earth. That looking down at the parts of ourselves we don't want to look at will plug us in. And the next step is gratitude again. So it begins with gratitude, ends in gratitude. And at this point I kind of do that on my body. I will move through it. It's more of a checking in, checking out. But it's good to go through the steps. And that's a gathering protocol. That's one that I've learned that I find very useful. So those are gathering protocols. Why do we gather? We gather to connect with nature, to develop the part of our nervous system that can sense things in the forest, with our patients, with people we care about. We tune those skills that the traditional peoples have developed over tens or hundreds of thousands of years in traditional cultures. We talked about gathering being a doorway into something else, into a portal, into creating something more rich for ourselves and our patients. We talked about using left and right brain. We talked about creating sacred space. And finally, I gave you a specific protocol that's just one of many that you can use. So gathering is a really important piece of this. Now, you don't need to do this to be a good herbalist. It's fine to be an herbalist off of a shelf. It's fine, and there are really good herbalists that do that. But I believe that if we learn how to gather herbs, and we do these practices, we become better practitioners and we become better human beings. I want to go over some of the techniques that we use when we're gathering that open our nervous system up to connect with nature. There's the core of this is presence and what I call deep listening, somatic awareness. Those are key pieces when we're engaging in the natural world. This is something that you would use with nature skills, with hunting, with tracking animals, with gathering plants, with listening to the language of birds. All of these situations, and even like dealing with patients, like I say, there are certain techniques you can use to open your awareness and to activate the parts of your nervous system that will connect. You know, all of us have ancestors that were hunter-gatherers. All of us have ancestors that would not have survived without these skills. So cultures will tend to teach these skills, traditional cultures to teach these skills to help people survive and to thrive. We're going to go over posture and the structure of the spine so that optimizes our ability to relate to the outside world. We're going to go over what I call locus and focus. Locus is where we place our awareness. Focus is what we do with our eyes, and they're different. There are traditional techniques called owl eyes or hakalau that use peripheral vision. That's a very important piece of doing these practices, and we're going to practice some peripheral vision skills. There's what's called body radar, which is the, I call it dermis, but it's a way of using the skin as an antenna. We're feeling things through our skin. Using the breath as a way to open our nervous system up to not only dropping into a parasympathetic state, a relaxed state, but expanding our awareness in all directions. And then moving, putting all of this together and moving. So those are the pieces that we're going to go over today. There are specific techniques for enhancing specific skills, specific skill sets for connecting with nature. All of them, I believe, involve, and this is really speculation, what I call MSU, which is making stuff up, but I speculate that there are a lot of them, if not all of them, are involved with the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve that runs outside of the spinal column and connects to the vocal cords, the heart, the lungs, the digestive system, and parts of the reproductive organs. This is the part of our the parasympathetic part of our nervous system is the part that calms us down, and the vagus nerve is predominantly parasympathetic, calms us down. I believe that's why my Hawaiian teachers would always tell me to enter the forest with my na'a, with my belly. Because when I bring my awareness to my belly, it calms me down and I am more able to connect. This is what I call deep listening. And deep listening has to do with, it's an acquired skill. All of our ancestors had the skill, otherwise they wouldn't have survived. Consciousness is a result of what's called sensory gating, or Aldous Huxley called it a reducing valve. The only reason we can have consciousness is because we block things out. If we didn't block things out, we would be overwhelmed with data, with impulses that we couldn't organize. So consciousness functions in a way where we block out certain things, and that allows us to focus on each other and whatever we're talking about or whatever we're doing. Using deep listening opens certain parts of our awareness that we're not used to opening. And it opens certain parts of our nervous system we're not accustomed to using. We use these all the time. Unconsciously, we're constantly aware of impulses that are going back and forth between us and the environment and within ourselves, but we don't pay attention. This is just a matter of paying attention to what's already happening. It's opening those sensory gates to a certain degree. This isn't so much about learning stuff. We already know how to do this in our nervous system. It's more about unlearning things that have been piled on top of us. It's not so much about, yes, the techniques we're learning, but it's really, we're just reactivating a part of ourselves that's our birthright, that's our inheritance. In some of my classes, we teach how to listen to plants. We're not listening with our ears, we're listening with our body. We'll taste the plant, we'll smell, and what happens in our body. Kids listen to plants really well. Their nervous system is already activated. So it's not so much about learning things as unlearning. It's not magic. It's simple, straightforward techniques for activating the parts of our nervous system that are dormant. One aspect of learning these skills is posture. And posture is actually quite simple. Our knees are bent, so we're rooting. Remember we talked before about grounding into the earth. We're feeling the earth with our feet. If we can be barefoot, better, but we're connected, we're plugged in. Our lumbar curve is flattened and our cervical curve is flattened, so the spine is long. The jaw is relaxed. That's a really important piece, that the jaw stay relaxed. It doesn't have to be open, but it needs to be relaxed. And in Chinese practices, in Chinese culture, the shoulders are forward. In Indian or yogic culture, the shoulders are back. Because I'm trained in Chinese medicine, I keep the shoulders forward. But either way, the spine is long, and there's a comfort in this. So when we're gathering herbs, there's a physical comfort. There's a sense of relaxation, like we're home. This isn't stilted or posturing. This is just like home. So that is the basic structure when we're gathering. One of the things that I speculate about is when we stretch the cervical curve like this, when we flatten, the head is being pulled up by the back, like from heaven by the back of the head. When we stretch that, we're actually stretching the vagus nerve. structurally we're stretching that. And it's interesting that all different martial arts traditions, in Lua, the Hawaiian martial art, in Qigong, the Chinese martial art, in Indian martial arts, in Japanese martial arts, all of the meditation practices, the spine is always long, and the cervical curve and the lumbar curve are always flat. It's very interesting. So I suspect that because human physiology is universal, that when we do something, if somebody in Bulgaria does a certain practice, they're going to get a very similar physiological effect that somebody in Poughkeepsie would get. And so human physiology is universal, so these practices, I have sort of a trust that they are doing something to enhance these skill sets. There's the idea of locus and focus, and I realized after practicing these plant gathering techniques and awareness techniques for many years that where I paid attention to in my body made a difference as to my experience. So if you bring your awareness to your head and you look at me, you're going to have a certain experience, but if you bring your awareness to your belly and you look at me, so you're here and you feel me from there, it's different than if I bring my awareness up and I'm looking at Christina from here, and I have a certain experience. And if I drop my awareness down and I soften my gaze a bit, I have a slightly different experience. When we meet people, we have a different feeling from those people. That happens in the torso, and particularly in the belly, I believe. So I tried to find a word that described where we self-identify within our bodies. So if I'm looking at Sani and my attention is on my right toe, the big toe on my right foot, but I'm looking at her, if I bring my awareness down, that is what I call my locus. It was the only word I could find that seemed to fit that, even though it's not a word. So it's made up, it's speculative, it's MSU, but that's what I call locus. And locus is the place in ourselves with which we self-identify. When my Hawaiian teachers would always say, enter the forest with your na'au, or with your belly, what that means to me is to bring my awareness here, and I'm feeling from here, I'm self-identifying from here. This activates, I believe, a different part of our nervous system than if I'm self-identifying with my head. That's my locus. So my locus can be internal. I can be looking at that plant and feeling with my belly, or my locus can be in my feet, or I can have my locus outside of myself. I can focus on your ring. If I bring my visual focus on your ring, and I really concentrate, my locus or my awareness goes to that ring. I can take my awareness out of my body and put it in that ring. Or I can bring it back. I can relax my gaze, even though I'm still focused on the ring, and drop back into my belly and see how that ring makes me feel. Okay? So there's locus, which is where we identify in space-time with our awareness, and then this focus, what we focus on with our eyes. So typically when we're in the forest and we're gathering, we're using a soft focus, and that is a relaxed gaze. And then what will happen is I'll bring my locus inside or outside depending on what's going on, and typically it actually flashes back and forth very quickly when I'm gathering. So I want to have